Hello and welcome to Stampin' by Hannah. Today I have this card for you, which appeared on my blog a few weeks ago, possibly as part of my Festival of Trees week, but I can't actually remember. And I thought it's a case from the seasonal catalogue, and I just thought I would show you how I made it. So that's the card. It uses my very favourite Festival of Trees stamp set, and not many supplies and colours really. I've got a piece of old olive cardstock that's cut to 5 3/4 by 8 1/4, which is more or less half of an A4 sheet. I cut mine down just slightly to make it easier for me to work with, because A4's a slightly peculiar size and I just get confused. So, oh, hello Frida. Frida's not very happy today because I'm ignoring her because I'm rather busy. I've then got a piece of Whisper White, which is cut to 5 1/2 by 3 7/8, which will sit on the top. I've got a piece of Real Red, which is 1 inch by 3 inches, and a piece of sort of scrap really that we're going to use. So I'm going to move all these pieces out of the way and drop my piece of Real Red on the floor. And we're going to stamp first. So I've got the stamp with the tree and the matching baubles, the star, the little plant pot, and the sentiment that says "A Merry Little Wish." I'm going to get all of those out first so I know where I'm up to. So first things first, we're going to stamp our tree. I'm going to use old olive for that. So ink up the stamp, and I know some ladies find it easier to stamp our photopolymer stamps on the piercing mat because it's got a little bit of the cushion. With a stamp like this that's quite little, I don't have a problem. If you're using a bigger stamp, something like the Wondrous Wreath, I would definitely recommend using the piercing mat. With these sort of baubles, I'd only apply very light pressure, sort of the weight of the block, to apply your ink, to sort of ink up your stamp, because I had a stamp class making this card about 2 months ago now actually, and a lot of the ladies found it really difficult because it's so easy to get ink sort of in the middle and then you end up with ink all over your tree. Because this is photopolymer, it makes it really easy to line up. I apologise if my head gets in the way. Oh, and we end up with a lovely green tree with red baubles, which is lovely. No, I don't know what that can stay on there. Oh, I'm throwing everything. It's one of those days in my craft room today, I've got to say. Things are flown about. My cat has thrown a paddy at me. It's just, yeah, one of those days. So next we're going to ink up the star, and we want to stamp the star so that we can punch it out with the Itty Bitty Accents star punch. So I'll stamp that down there. And I'm also going to ink up the little pot. I've stamped the star in Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to stamp this little pot in Crumb Cake. You could just as easily use a slightly darker brown, but Crumb Cake is what I've got on hand, so that's what I'm using today. Not just happen to have that sort of laying about. So now there is a punch that coordinates with this tree, but I've got to say I don't own it. But it's a really good bundle, and if you're thinking, oh, I really like that tree to make my Christmas cards, I'd buy the punch because it just makes it so much easier. However, for now, because I don't have my punch, I'm just going to chop with my paper snips. And because it's a tree, it is a very easy image to cut out. But if you're going to do lots of them, I'd buy the punch. Slightly regretting not buying the punch, but I've now got more important things on my wish list, so unfortunately the punch is going to have to wait. That, and I've made that many Christmas cards in all different, I think everybody's going to get a different Christmas card this year because I've made that many samples, and all the Christmas card samples that I've made will get sent out to my family, friends and lovely customers. I love you all. So I've got my tree, my pot and my star. While I've got my scissors handy, I'm going to cut pennant ends into my piece of real red that's 3 inches by an inch. You could just as easily use a square punch for this, but I haven't got one of those either. I haven't been a Stampin' Up demonstrator very long, I will admit, and I'm still building up my collection, so while I'm still building my collection, I'm going to give you slightly different ways of doing things, because I know that not everybody has every single punch in the world, and I think that's really easy to do anyway. So next thing, we're going to lay our card out, and I'm going to have to do this upside down, and I do apologise because I need to be able to look at this. So I'll put my piece of real red on first and my tree, and I'm just going to lay it down just approximately where it's going to go. Try and get it straight-ish. And then I've got my sentiment, and my sentiment says, "A merry little wish." I'm going to take my real red ink pad, I'm going to ink it up, and I haven't stuck anything down yet, but I'm just going to stamp my sentiment just there, just so that I then know and can line everything else up against that. So I'm going to use some snail adhesive to get my dimensionals out of the drawer while I'm here. All my adhesives are in a drawer just off to the side here, so bit of snail on there, and just stick that like that, and it's a little bit wonky. I don't really mind wonky because I think it's handmade and people need to know it's handmade. And things aren't perfect. And dimensionals on my tree. I'm going to chop some of the side pieces of my dimensionals here for the pot, because the dimensional is just a little bit too big. Just on there. And for the star, which I think actually is still too big, this star is very, very little, I've got to say. So on there, and then I'm going to use 5 dimensionals just to give even more dimension. I love dimensional cards. I love it when they come out of the envelope and they're all... I love layers, but I'm stingy with cardstock, so I'd rather pop everything up on dimensionals than use loads and loads of layers of cardstock. And just check it's the right way around. Line that up on there, and that is it. How quick and simple is that? And you can make it even quicker and even simpler if you had the tree punch. You still have to cut the pot out, unfortunately. There isn't a punch for that, but there is a punch for the tree. Go and check out my blog for even more ideas on how to use the Petal of Trees stamp set. And I will be back with you again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.